If any student here is found to not be in compliance, we have cameras all over the classroom, and I'm just saying this so that every student knows their responsibility. I don't think you have to be told this because your parents have already been told it themselves. They've trained it into your minds since you were born, that we're all now in a country that by our history books is now a much better place because we are not free or under any kind of liberty or open thought. Now we must comply with what we have to do in this country and the world, which is to comply and give full allegiance to our global world leader. So stand up, and I want you all to be at full attention. Face the flag. And before we begin the pledge, I want us all to give full respect to our leader. Heil Obama. That's right. I want all of you to remember that Obama is our dictator, but more importantly, he is our great leader who gives all of us the rights to exist, the rights to breathe the air around us, the rights to have food that we can eat, and it's all because of him that we have this today. So students, I want all of us to put your hands over your heart in full compliance and allegiance to our new government and to our world leader, Obama himself. And let's begin our pledge now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the New World Order and to the dictator for which it stands, Obama, one nation under complete communist control, under the rules and the guidelines of the National Socialist Party, and for the full and complete restriction of all known freedoms and liberties that we all once had. But it's only because we must give consideration and full allegiance to our dictator, who tells us what's best for us, what we must do. And this is the only thing that we have to do now as global citizens of this new world order. All of you know that we are part of the North American Union. We no longer have any individuality. We no longer have anything in this country that we can say is ours, because as Obama has said many times on television to all of you students, we must give up anything we have if it is for the good of the global government. And when you think about it, kids, the important thing to remember is that when you are a part of a collective, this means everybody has the same rights, and you don't have more of an advantage over someone else when you give full compliance and full respect to the New World Order. So I want all of you now, you can sit down. You've done very well today. I must say you've complied fully with what the National Socialist Party tells us that we must do each day. We don't have to worry because everything is filmed through these hidden cameras that we have all throughout the classroom. So if anybody feels that maybe they did not comply with what the state says we must do, don't worry, because everything's been recorded, so you know that there's nothing they can say we did wrong. I have all of your assignments up on the bulletin board. As you know, we have to do these classes each day in the beginning of each morning on learning the Russian and the Chinese alphabets. And I understand that the National Party is going to make it a requirement now for us to also speak it, as well as to have an understanding of what their philosophies are, because we are all now a part of this global government system. And if you don't comply with this, or if you make any jokes, the government has already told me that the cameras are not only recording you, but at different times of the day, we will be watched by live feeds to the White House as well as the Kremlin. And this way they know for sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and that we're not faltering in our responsibilities as global government citizens to comply with the rules that they have set up. Many of you in class, I can see, are already wearing your Muslim headdresses, and we have to comply, of course, with your philosophies of surreal law. This means that any other student who is not of a Muslim faith now must comply and wear a headdress over their faces as well as over their heads. So the girls must do this. The boys, that we not cut our hair anymore. We have to comply with this, kids. I'm sorry, but that's the way that the government says we have to do things now. We have no choices anymore to say that we don't agree with something that maybe it's against our beliefs. But your parents have already probably told you this as well, that your feelings, your opinions, your lifestyle that you once had under the former United States of America is now null and void. It is now unacceptable under the New World Order guidelines. And I just personally, I don't have any opinion, because as a person I have no right to say anything of how I feel, because the government tells me, and they tell all of us in this classroom, of what we are responsible for doing, and that is to comply with what the global government system says. So if any of you, by the way, in the class profess to be Christian, I'm afraid that you are no longer allowed to speak of such things in class. You're not allowed to speak of it even out in the hallways, or even on the exercise field when you're doing physical ed today. You're not allowed to speak of it in the cafeteria. Anybody caught doing so will be taken aside by the principal, or possibly by whoever is in the cafeteria. They will be expelled from school. You might even be sent to one of these FEMA camp rehabilitation centers that I've heard of, that are basically helping to reorientate you to the philosophy of the global government and what they expect of you. So don't think that they're singling out anybody or making you comply with any rule, because it's for the good of everybody that we all comply with the same philosophy. We all must get along with each other, and that means that your opinions or your beliefs are no longer valid reasons for saying that you don't agree with something, because you don't have the right anymore to say that. Not under the surreal law, not under the New World Order government that's here in the North American Union. And students, I cannot emphasize enough to all of you that what you do and what you say is for the good of all of us, and not just for compliance of a rule. It is for your benefit as a global citizen that you comply and accept these things, because otherwise we're not going to get along with each other. There will be what was before mass murder, mass genocide, because when you have a difference of opinion and the government says you shouldn't have that, then you should be willing to say, yes, I agree with that, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's what we're all here to learn. Getting along with each other means that who you were as an individual doesn't count now for anything, and that compliance with the philosophies of the global government is the only way to maintain a philosophy of euphoria. That means all of us are happy because all of us comply and we all live the same way the government tells us to. And that is what's important. So, I guess the only other concern that I have heard from some of the students is the uniforms that you all now are required to wear. And this is all across the entire country, all across the North American Union, all public schools have been made to comply with a global, the Constitution that's been established at the United Nations in New York, that we all comply wearing the same kind of uniform. And this way, all of us are seen as equal. That being individual means that you should have a choice to wear what you want to wear, and the government saying that doesn't work in the euphoria attitude that we all have to live by. And some boys also probably feel like this unisex type of uniform doesn't make you feel that you're different than, let's say, a girl. But I don't have any feeling about that, except that this is what we are required to wear, and all of you have to now comply with that. And there's no questions that we can bring up to anybody higher up than the principal, because they've complied also with these rules. And all of you are required to comply, and there is no exception, there's no exclusion to that, no matter what kind of sexual orientation you are. If you're a transgender, you still have to comply, because it is for the good of everybody that we do this. So we're going to begin now our lessons, and any student that has any problem or concern, I would strongly suggest that you keep it to yourself, or at least talk to me about it in private. Don't talk about it with the other students in the room, because we don't want to offend other people. And if you feel like you want to talk to somebody else, the principal is always available in their office, and you can go there anytime you wish to talk to them. Just remember, it's always an understanding that we all are doing this because it is for the good of everybody. If you comply and you live the way that the government says that we should live, then everybody can be happy. We can all be complacent. We can all be totally gratified to know that we live in a world now that is equal with each other. And that's because of the New World Order wanting to give total compliance and acceptance of all peoples, an exception of the Christian belief. We cannot allow that anymore. We cannot permit anyone who is Christian in their attitude or their nature or their beliefs. We cannot allow them to be in school, because this does not comply, and it actually hurts the euphoria attitude that we all must be willing to accept each other. And this is just something that, as a teacher, I have to tell you, it's for your good that we comply, because everybody can be happy if we can all just get along with each other. Now, any other kind of religion, there is no problem, because Sharia law is already in full effect, and that means that if you don't accept Islam, you still have to respect them enough that you accept them for who they are. But if you have any other beliefs other than Christianity, you can also practice those also. We just all have to have a feeling of tolerance towards each other and get along. And it's not a shameful thing that if you're in the hallway or you're somewhere and you hear a student speak of Christianity, don't feel like you're thinking on them or ratting them out by telling your teacher or your principal, because that's what we all are trying to do for each other, is to help.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of one world government and to the agencies through which it rules, one world, under man, interdependent, and equal for all.
If any student here is found to not be in compliance, we have cameras all over the classroom, and I'm just saying this so that every student knows their responsibility